running for Attorney General because I am a career prosecutor, and I want to make sure the Attorney General's office continues to focus on prosecuting crimes, protecting Arizona families, and stays out of politics.
Okay. Let's start with the big one first and get out of the way. What's your stand on 1070?
Well, my stand on 1070 is that it doesn't do anything to fix our illegal immigration problems. In fact, Governor Brewer's on record saying it has nothing to do with border security at all. And so from my perspective, we need a comprehensive immigration reform at the federal level, but more than anything, as Attorney General, I'm going to put the full force of the Attorney General's office on fighting the organized criminals coming across the border. The violent criminals who are bringing drugs and humans into our neighborhoods and making them less safe. I've been on record throughout the primary and the general election that I'll defend Senate Bill 1070. I will enforce it, and I'll work with all levels of law enforcement to make sure that it's carried out appropriately.
What about, as far as that goes, what do you think you can do that's different for border security that maybe is not being done right now?
Well, I think we need to put more resources in the Attorney General's office on it. And also, just recently, Terry Goddard created a border protection unit. I called for that unit back in September. And that unit will be focusing more great resources on the border issues, working with local law enforcement, because we really need to be more organized and more strategic than the criminals coming across the border. That's one of the things that I've been doing. I've already worked on cutting the cash flow off to the coyotes in my job as the head of the Department of Financial Institutions. I fined Western Union in 06 and 08 $5 million total in fines and fees for allowing money to flow to the coyotes through the money transmissions. So I've already been doing this stuff. And this is very familiar to me. And my opponent, on the other hand, has never been in prosecution, hasn't done anything on border issues, border crimes. Literally, he's just listening to the polls and saying what he wants to, what he thinks people want to hear.
One of the things your communications director said to me when he called and asked if I would come and do an interview with you is he said, well, since she's probably the only Democrat in the state with a chance of winning, might be newsworthy to talk with her. And I was a little startled at that frank of an admission. And do you feel that way?
Actually, he's really talking out of school. I have been traveling around with the statewide Democrats. We have been up north. We believe that the Navajo Nation is going to come out very strongly for the Democrats. Made a difference in 2004 for Janet Napolitano. And I believe that that's why Chris Tichini is neck and neck with his opponent. I believe that Terry Goddard has gone up in the polls quite a bit. I think people want folks that are going to put the interests of Arizonans first, and that's been my message since day one, is that as the attorney for all of Arizona, my duty is to the people, and Arizonans are my clients, and I owe them the duty to do what's in their best interest. My concern with an opponent like Tom Horn is that he's a career politician, and he'll make decisions not based upon what's in the best interest of Arizona, but what's in the best interest of his political ideology. He's already done that, and his own political career. And we don't need politics in the Attorney General's office.
Do you feel that politics have already been in the Attorney General's office, even with, Attorney General Goddard?
I think that you can go back to you can go back years of different Attorney Generals, and you'll see a certain amount of politics. I harken back to the years of Grant Woods. He's endorsed me. He's the last Republican that was Attorney General. Everybody thought that he was going to be running for governor, but but he made a lot of decisions that were not politically motivated, that made his own party mad at him. And he ran for 2 terms. He ran unopposed after his first term, and I want to do the same thing. Because the certainty, the continuity that comes from being Attorney General for 8 years and having the same person in charge is really good for not only the folks in the office, but it's good for the state of Arizona. And so that's my goal.
And what about amnesty?
I'm not in favor of amnesty. We need comprehensive immigration reform with a temporary guest worker program for our agribusiness. But we definitely are. I'm not a fan of amnesty at all. Never been on record saying I was.
Right. What about the fence? How do you feel about that? Do you think it would help?
Yeah, actually, the fence and the structure of the fence has been very effective on the Yuma sector of the border. I've traveled the border, and in 2005. There was an average of 800 people crossing the border a day in the Yuma sector because it was so easy to cross. The National Guard came in. Millions of dollars have been put into that sector of the border. They have what's called Operation Streamline, which is where you arrest the immigrants that come across the border and they are jailed and prosecuted right there at the facility. And now there is between 5 and 10 folks crossing a day, and the number of apprehensions have dropped by 94% since 2005. And there is a structure all along the 132, 146 miles of the border, of the Yuma sector border.
Haven't there been some legal challenges to Operation Streamline as far as, and do you feel it's an effective program?
There are some challenges to that, and I'm aware of them, but I think that as a border security measure, it's been proven to be pretty effective.
So how do you think the legal challenges, do you think they'll be able to continue with that program? I'm not really familiar enough right today to answer that question, yes or no. I think we'll have to see what happens. Okay, so let's talk about the housing mortgage.
Yeah,
that's
right. Is it loud? Is it too loud in here? Should we ask?
I think it'll be okay.
Okay, so maybe we should ask them to be a little quiet. Do you want us to?
No, I think it'll be okay.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I'll fuss with it and see what I can do.
All right.
So housing mortgage, the mortgage industry and the issues and stuff that are going on, and what can people do? What can they expect? And how can it be fixed if there is a fix?
I'll tell you, I've been working on those fixes for the last since 2006. When I was the head of the Department of Financial Institutions, we saw the mortgage fraud occurring, people getting into homes and flipping them, and the values going up. We saw folks getting into homes they could not afford, and people putting them in those homes and giving them mortgage products that they couldn't afford just for the fees. And one of the problems was that these loan officers that were making these loans were unlicensed. And I worked for 2 years to get the loan officers that are working for the mortgage companies licensed. So as of July 2010, every mortgage loan officer that works for a licensed mortgage broker or banker is now licensed. That means the felons are out of the industry. They have a duty to put the borrower in a loan. They have to assess the circumstances of the borrower and put them in a loan they can afford. And they have skin in the game, and they have laws they have to comply with. So I think going forward in the future, having loan officers licensed, a lot like real estate agents are licensed, is going to make a big difference. Okay, that's for future situations. But the loan modification process is broken. And we have national banks that have never put the resources to the loan modification process that they should have. And so we have folks who think they've modified their loan, pay the modified mortgage, and then they get a foreclosure notice, and no one knows what's going on. So we have to get involved in that. We, meaning the states, have to get involved. And there's a law that there was a Supreme Court case called Cuomo that just came down about a year ago that clearly states that the states can enforce the consumer protection laws against the national banks, which is why you're seeing all of a sudden a group of attorney generals from around the country have started to form a group to go look at these issues. So as Attorney General, one of my priorities will be to look at how there are deceptive acts by the loan modification companies, the mortgage servicers, that are many of which are involved with the banks, and see where they are engaging in activity that would fall under the Consumer Protection Act. And that's where the Attorney General's office can be involved. We can also be involved in taking complaints against the loan modification companies and going after those companies as well. I want to bring the people to the table and come up with some sort of plan, and I don't know if it needs to be some sort of nationwide, multi-state action so that everybody gets treated the same, and we put pressure on the mortgage servicers to start working with the borrowers, because everyone is losing when a home goes into foreclosure. The values of the homes in the neighborhoods go down, the bank loses money, and the person is out of a home.